What's up? Coming back with the next video. The last video I did a giveaway for a free custom paraglider logo, and that glider logo was given out to Mike over at Skyhikers. So shout out to Mike for entering into that. Now, with that said, he was the only one that entered into the giveaway. So I'm going to do one more because I've got extra material. So if you're interested in a custom paraglider logo, kind of like the new venture right above me or new venture over here on my right wingtip, holler at me. Let me know. I think it's super cool. Customize your glider, make it your own. And it could be anything. It could be an Instagram handle, a YouTube handle. It could be freaking cut out of your dog or a star or heart, whatever you want to put on there. Holler at me, let me know. Let's get you entered in for this one last chance to get a free paraglider logo. After that, the price is going to go up. I'm going to start charging for it. So this is your chance again to just get some customization on this thing. So I thought this might be a cool time to tell you another paramotor story about the time I broke my back. Now, rewind the clock to 2015. I'm just a young buck. I'm out there doing young buck stuff. And at the time, I was like kind of into cliff jumping. I was just kind of getting into it. I hadn't done anything too crazy. And I went up to Mountain Reservoir, which I'm not recommending anybody go up there and do it. People have died up there. And
a popular cliff diving spot is now off limits after the death of a 27-year-old man. He jumped into the water and never resurfaced. The Summit County Sheriff and the U.S. Forest Service have closed that area near Green Mountain Reservoir Dam. Signs are up warning people to stay away.
Got hurt like me, so let's not repeat the past. But Green Mountain Reservoir, a couple sweet spots to do some cliff jumping, and I go out there one summer, I think it was like 2014 or 2013, went out there, we're doing cliff jumping, just having like literally the time of my life. Camping, cliff jumping, doing all that, man, and it was such a good time. And nothing happened 2013 or 2014. 2015, I go back with a friend, and I actually haven't talked to that friend. Oh, look at this. There's a good thermal right here. Check out this local. Oh, yeah. Let's see if we can ride with him. All right. What's up, dude? Sheesh. It's like you're throwing off my line, dude. All right, it should be right here. Let's see. I guess not. It looked like he was circling pretty good. It might be a little more upwind. He's riding something. Probably just too weak because I don't feel anything. Well, anyways. So, 2015, go back with a friend, and the cliff, the rock where you jump, the height depends on the water level, and this time I would say it was probably about 60 feet, roughly the same as it was when I was there 2013, 2014, but maybe it was like a little bit taller. Well, anyways, next to this 60-foot rock, there's a 30-foot rock, and I've been jumping off that rock all day, so I was getting my rotation timing on the 30-foot, height, which, whatever. So I'm jumping off that all day, having a good time, and then I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to head up to the 60-footer. I'm going to go have a good time. So I go up there, and mind you, there's a ton of people there, and there's like me and maybe one other dude jumping off the 60-foot rock. Maybe that was a clue I should have listened to. I didn't, obviously. So I go up there. I made one jump. Yeah, that's right. I jumped off of it one time before I got hurt. And I did a front flip 180 off of it just to make sure that I had the timing. Now, I was ever so slightly a little over-rotated on landing, but it wasn't anything bad. It was just a kind of a mental note, like, all right, slow it down a little bit. But I was like, well, since I did the front flip 180, I can do the backflip, because historically I like doing backflips more because I can kind of watch the landing most of the rotation. So I climb back up to the rock. I'm setting up for just a solid backflip. Take a breath, and I give it all I got, and I just throw the backflip. Now, where I screwed up was I jumped really hard and I jumped far out because I wanted to get away from the rock. But before I'd even fallen like a foot, I had already spotted my landing. And 60 feet, probably not good, because I still got 60 feet to go of rotation. So I try to open it up and I try to slow it down, but it just wasn't enough. And eventually, I'm pretty much ready to land at like, I don't know, after I fall like 20 feet or so, 30 feet, and I still got 30 more feet to go. So I actually have a video of it, which we'll just roll the tape now. Now, in the video, obviously you can see I over-rotated and landed flat on my back. And some people that have seen the video have been like, well, you landed in water, why did it break your back? Did you hit the bottom? Well, if you've never landed flat on water like that, it's like slightly better than hitting concrete. And when I hit, usually when I do this jump, I go into the water and I gotta swim up. I gotta swim up for like a minute. It takes me a second to get to the top. I remember hitting the water so hard that I felt like I basically surfaced right away. And immediately, in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna die if I don't get to the rock, if I don't swim. Because I was already starting to feel like the tunneling effect inward. Oh, this is a good thermal. See if we can take it. Yeah, just turbulence. Anyways, so I'm like, I'm gonna die if I don't get over to that rock because I'm fading right now, and I know it's super deep. It's probably like 60 feet deep right there. So I swim like hell over to the rock, and I thought, besides feeling like I was gonna pass out, I was okay until I started to pull my body out of the water, and you kind of have like a weightless type sensation in water. Well, when you pull yourself out, now you have the full effect of gravity. So as I pulled myself out of the water, I collapsed onto the rock halfway in the water, so I still have my legs in the water. And just also consider that the water right now is pretty cold. I don't know the exact temperature, but it was cold. So it was one of those like jump, get out kind of things. I lay there, not able to breathe for maybe like a minute of just solid like trying to get your body to breathe, but it just won't because you've knocked the wind out of yourself. And I eventually start to catch my breath and I'm able to breathe. And I just feel all pain in my back. And at this point I know it's not good. And the tunneling that I was starting to feel from like, you know, damn near getting knocked out was starting to subside, and I was starting to gain consciousness back. And I remember laying there and I just prayed to anybody that was listening, because I couldn't move at all. And it wasn't, I couldn't move because I'd like severed my spine or anything. I was just in so much pain. And I was scared. My legs were numb because they were just sitting in the water. And I don't know what we're going to do because I'm down here 60 feet down. Like, you can't just drive a car up and scoop me up. So I'm just kind of lost at like what is going to happen now. So somebody calls the ambulance, and like 45 minutes to an hour later, this is a good one. 45 minutes to an hour later, the paramedics arrive, and they're just looking down, because it's like 30 feet down from where I was at. It's like 60 feet up from the top of the jump where I jumped, but about 30 feet from where the ambulance and paramedics were. And they are kind of looking at the situation like, what the hell are we going to do? Are we going to get this guy out? Do we need to call a helicopter? Eventually, they come up with a plan to help with resources, because we don't want to call in a helicopter for every tiny little event. So there was a gal there, and I forget her name. There was a guy and a girl there, and they were so helpful. And I wish I had their information, but man, one of these days if I could run into them again. But anyways, she was on a paddleboard, so she, my friend, and this guy helped kind of like finagle me onto this paddleboard, and then my friend who was on a jet ski, they pulled me across the lake to a flatter spot where they could kind of keep me on the board and get me to a stretcher and then into an ambulance. Now, when I got to the ambulance, I can't feel my legs, and I was not sure if this was it. Like, couldn't really move my feet very well. I could wiggle my toes pretty good, but my feet were just so cold and my legs were so numb, I could barely move them or feel them. So the guy in the ambulance, paramedic, he's like, hey, can you feel this? And I was like, what? And I looked down and he's touching my foot, and I was like, oh, shit, it's probably not good. He puts a warm blanket on my legs, and by the grace of God, I start to get feeling back, and I'm able to move my legs, and everything is good. And I remember that was such a relief. But we get to the hospital, they start doing imaging, they're starting to look at me, doc comes in, he's like, hey, we did an x-ray, doesn't look like your back's broken, but just to check, I want to do another scan with a different machine, and just check, make sure. So we go do that scan, we come back, doc comes back, and he's like, all right, man, so unfortunately, you've got like 4 or 5 compression fractures starting at the lowest vertebrae in your neck, and then like 4 or 5 down. They just kind of compressed and crushed. So when I get you out of here, and then you're going to have to follow up with another doctor. So I remember when he told me that at work, they were laying people off at the time, and I remember my boss, he was kind of an asshole. He was like, hey, if anybody misses work, you're done. Can't afford to keep people around. And I had just gotten an apartment, gotten out of my own. You know, I've got bills, car payment, now an apartment. And I'm trying to, like, you know, not go back to the nest, to mom and dad's house. And I thought that this was it. I was like, I'm going back to mom and dad's house. And eventually, I get a ride home. The girl I was dating at the time, she drove all the way up to Silverthorne to pick me up. And, you know, we go home, and I remember I was so scared of losing my job, I showed up at work that next day in a neck brace. And my boss, he looked at me, it was so funny. He's like, what the hell happened to you? And yeah, I told him. I was like, I'm here to work. I'll do whatever I can. I got this neck brace on. I just look like such a goober. But anyways, he tells me to go home, and I do that, and I did I didn't work for like 2 weeks, and then after that I came back and I was on light duty, just doing like, they had me like sorting. I was working in a manufacturing plant, so they had me sorting like random bolts and stuff, just sitting in a chair, just separating the different, you know, measurements of bolts and whatever. So that was what I did for like the next long while until I was able to do actual work. And then they had me on a modified schedule doing like 3 hours a day every other day. Then it was 6 hours a day every other day. Then it was, you know, 6 hours a day every day and then back up to full status. But that was a time in my life where I maxed out all my credit cards to keep up with bills. I kept going to work, and I don't know how I made it through that, but I was very, very determined that I was not going to go back to mom and dad's house. And it's not that mom and dad's house is bad, but I just didn't want to go back. It's like, I earned this. I'm keeping this. And I didn't want a broken back to, you know, stop that from happening. So nowadays, fast forward, you know, 2026, my back is fine. Up in my upper back, near my neck, I get a little bit sore sometimes, especially like when it's cold out, when the muscles are just like clamping down in that area is what it feels like. But besides that, I walked away from that incident very unscathed. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, people have actually died there and been seriously injured, and I walked away from a 60-foot smack like that with virtually no repercussions. Like, I got so damn lucky. It's just incredible that I walked away from that, and I'm very grateful. But that is the story about the time that I broke my back, and I never want to do that again. So we'll just make that a one-time only type deal, because that sucked. Anyways, make sure you guys enter into the giveaway. I'm going to put the description, or I'm going to put the information in the description of the video. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.